Lesson 12.5. We're looking at number models for ratio number stories. This is a little different. What we've got is we're going to have some story problems. And in those story problems, they're going to give you ratios. What you are going to have to do is figure out how to take the existing ratio and translate it into the answer. Here's a very simple number story for a ratio problem. Let's say that you flip a coin, and if you flip the coin 50 times, and that coin lands heads, for every 1 out of every 2 times, then how many times does it land heads up? Well, if you flip it 50 times, and the ratio is 1 out of every 2 times, it comes up as heads. What you would do is you would take this, and basically this turns into a multiplication of fractions problem. So you would multiply it by 50, and so do the multiplication. 1 times 50 is 50, 2 times 1 is 2, reduce that down because you can't leave it, 25 times. So if you flip a coin 50 times, and it comes up heads 1 out of every 2 times, then it came up heads 25 times. That's how these ratio number stories work. Now, they're not always going to be that easy. What happens if a student flips a penny 32 times? Different number here. But if that penny lands heads up 5 out of every 8 times, then how many times did the penny land heads up? And that's a little tricky there, okay? It's a little tricky. Now, you can use your tiles. You have your blue and white tiles. We cut those out in class. You can use any kind of counter at home, any kind of counter you have at home. Or you can work on this and just think of it as a multiplication of fractions problem. Now, this gets a little complex, okay? 5 times 32 is 160. 8 times 1 is 8. But here's the good news. You reduce this down, 160 over 8. If you do that division, if you don't remember how to reduce a fraction with this, go back and look it up. If you reduce this down, it actually comes to be 20. So the penny itself landed heads up 20 times. Now we can do a little extra. If you know that we flipped it 32 times, if it came up heads 20 times, then that means it came up tails 12 times. That is how you use a ratio, an existing ratio, to answer a number story. So you got to work through those and figure out the ratio and get that to work. Now, there's a second side of this, and that is this new thing dealing with equivalent fractions. If you have 2 fractions, a over b, and if that equals c over d, then here's the thing. If you have 3 of these numbers, if you have a, b, and c, you can get d. You can figure it out. Now, there's lots of examples of this and how this works. What if you had this setup? What if I gave you 2 over 3, 2/3, equals 8 over what goes in the box? Well, you got to remember the thing we have said so many times this year. What you do to one number, you have to do to the other. So, how do you get from 2 to 8? Multiply by 4. And what you do to the bottom, or the top, I'm sorry, you have to do to the bottom. So you have to take 3 times 4 as well. 3 times 4 get you 12. Now you're going to have to know that because in the journals there's some questions that work like that, and you're going to have to figure out what goes in that box. Now the box may be over here or over here. It can be in any one of these 4 spots, but as long as you have 3 out of the 4, you can get the last one.